Hi, it's time for Type Over 40 here. Once again, we're usually a Doctor Who podcast, as you may or may not know. We're usually a Doctor Who podcast with the Fandom Podcast Network. These are a little, what would you call, I'd call it an after show. Sometimes it's a before show, but this is where we put our videos. We have a bit of a chat about anything Doctor Who or semi-Doctor Who related, which leads me to our topic of conversation today. And my guest this time, it's Simon Horton. Hello, Simon.
Hello, Dan. It's nice to be back with you again. I keep popping up, don't I? So it's always good to be here. Talk about Doctor Who.
Intergalactic bad penny, aren't you?
Yeah, thanks.
No, it's okay. It's okay. We won't. No incriminating evidence here. I won't say a word because it's been a funny old week with Doctor Who. There've been all sorts of things launched. We've had the new Mission to the Unknown 2019 thing that's come out, which we're going to have a little bit of a talk about on the next podcast. Plug. But also, there's been another sad loss to not just the Doctor Who community, but the science fiction and entertainment community in the death of Stephen Moore, the actor Stephen Moore. I gather that this is somebody whose career you've been following with some.
Yeah, I think it's what a shame. I was gutted when I heard that Stephen Moore had passed away. He was one of the greats, wasn't he? He was a legend. As somebody who grew up since an early teenager on Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and as somebody who just really related to Marvin's character, and I just thought he was genius with what he did as Marvin. Really, you can't praise Stephen Moore enough, I don't think, for Marvin's character. And I think it's fair to say that a large part of Hitchhiker's success really is down to A, Marvin's character, but B, what Stephen Moore then does with that character. Because everybody really seems to warm to Marvin. And he became such a major part of the series. And at the end of the day, he was the only one of all the characters that got his own pop record. Never actually did any good, but bless him, he was a pop star for 5.5 minutes. Marvin was a pop star. So I just adored everything that Stephen Moore did with that character. And it's sad that he's no longer here. And what I find particularly sad is that, from what I understand, I'm beginning to hear rumours that is it Netflix that is in rumours? Sorry, it was rumoured to be in discussions to renovate, to rebrand Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, to reinvent it, to bring it back to the screens.
Yeah, that's right.
To TV screens rather than radio. And so I was banking on Stephen Moore coming back to do the voice on those shows, if indeed it ever gets off the ground. And so, on a purely selfish level, I'm just gutted to think that we've been robbed of Stephen Moore coming back as Marvin. So,
sadly, Stephen's the latest cast member of Hitchhiker to leave us. There's been a few. Susan Sheridan died a few years ago from the original radio series, I believe, and Peter Jones, the voice of the book. But yes, Stephen Moore, what he achieved in that performance, I gather he gave several voice performances in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, of which Marvin was just the most famous one. So that's only fair to doff the figurative cap to that. But Marvin, wow, what a creation! Particularly the TV version, when you look at the prop in a sense, it's so blank, isn't it? This isn't in a less way than somebody like C-3PO is. That there's something about C-3PO that speaks of personality. But with Marvin, the whole point is that he hasn't got a personality in a sense. And so for Stephen to inflect so much in that performance, to make that such a great, memorable character and presence, not just to the point where he'd commit the novelty record to vinyl, but that we still shed a tear now, nearly 40 years on from him originating the character. And we think of Stephen, we think of Marvin. I don't own that single, do you?
I don't own the single, but I've got it. It's on my iPod. I have to be honest. It pops up on random. It pops up every so often on my iPod, and I still chortle along and sing along to it. And I have to say, I mean, all credit. It's a really, really well written lyric. The lyrics are so clever in it. You know, hats off. I don't know who wrote it, but hats off to whoever did it. Because it's a really
I think
clever,
it was something
fun
to do with
song.
John Lloyd, the producer.
John Lloyd, of course, it was John Lloyd. Well done, Dan. Thank you.
Because I've played it several times, and it's really of its time. Really, I mean, that sounds like a very sort of obvious thing to say, but it is very, very early 80s, very electronic. Obviously, there's a novelty quality, but it reminds me of the sort of thing we used to get on the old Kenny Everett television program, all those variety shows. On Top of the Pops. I don't know if Marvin ever performed on Top of the Pops. I'd be surprised, but if there is, I'd love to find that clip. I am properly bathed in sunlight today, recording this video. I do apologise if you're wondering. I've been sainted, haven't I? Yes. So to hear his voice again, and I would imagine that next time I watch Hitchhiker, I only watched it a few weeks ago because I was recording a podcast on it. Really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed that character. Stephen Moore's definitely going to be missed because he was such a what would you call it? Familiar face on British television, wasn't he? You know, so many TV shows and sitcoms, dramas, movies. I believe he was in. He was several TV dads, wasn't he? He was Kevin the Teenager's dad and Adrian Mole's dad and things like that. What other memories of Stephen Moore have you got?
In all honesty, all my memories really come back down to Marvin. He was such a legendary character for me. You're right, Stephen Moore played so many different... he was one of those great character actors. And isn't it just so sad that really we're just beginning to lose so many of these greats now? And it's really beginning to bother me how many we're losing. And it's obvious it's going to happen. They are of that age, but all those people from your childhood, they're beginning to disappear, and to me they really are the greatest of actors. Today's actors are a very different breed to those old style character actors, and I just prefer the style of those older character actors that could do so many different versatile roles that today's actors generally can't do. So I just think we're moving into a sad situation where we're losing all these greats. They're all going.
He was good at playing the everyman, perhaps the hapless characters, and it's we are a Doctor Who show, yeah, so it's fair to point out that he had been in Doctor Who. He was in Cold Blood, the Hungry Earth, isn't it? The 2-part Silurian story from 2010, where he's under a hell of a lot of latex, but the performance he gives from underneath that is recognisable. He still sounds and looks like Stephen Moore, and you could say it's a very Stephen Moore-like character he plays a sort of patrician character, doesn't he, in that, from memory? I haven't seen that in a few years.
That's right, but his voice was just so immediately recognisable. He has just got one of those, and he's got one of those faces where you will see him pop up on television so many times and you almost forget who he is, but you kind of vaguely recognise the face, but you won't immediately go, oh, that's Stephen Moore. So you're right in that he was an everyman kind of character that kind of almost could disappear into the background, into the wallpaper, and yet he's ironically so immediately recognisable with his voice. And as soon as you say who he is, you think, of course that's who it is. So he's one of the greats, and yet another one gone, sadly.
When it comes to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is the version of that you think works the best, from the book, the radio, the TV show, and the movie? Have you got a favourite?
Gosh, that's a really difficult question. I've got a favourite, and it's the television version. I just absolutely love the TV version. Maybe that's because that's the first version I saw. Well, the first version I encountered was the TV version. So I love that. But gosh, I love the books. The books are genius. And I love the radio show. Everything about... The only thing I don't like of Hitchhikers is the film, the movie, with... who played Martin Freeman.
Yeah.
No, it's Martin Freeman. Yes, yeah. Martin Freeman isn't playing Arthur Dent, and that's a classic example of how they completely messed up Marvin's character. Marvin was played by
Now,
Alan Rickman. And they just get it catastrophically wrong. So I hate the movie version, but the rest is brilliant. And what I think is so sad is that the TV version only ever ran for 6 episodes, and they were planning to do more episodes of the TV show. They were going to do a second series, and the only reason they didn't do it was because Douglas Adams didn't get on with the director, didn't like the director of the TV show, and so it all just got dropped. And it's such a tragedy, because I think Douglas Adams is a genius, but he got it wrong, because I think the director really absolutely got it right. He was absolutely spot on with what he did with that TV show, and I just think it's a tragedy we didn't get more of them, as they were planning to do.
So. Yeah, I've always wondered about that, because those 6 episodes, that show at that time, it did get the nation talking, and it's had this huge extended life. You know, it's just come out on Blu-ray. It's something that I rewatch all the time, and I certainly think that it has. I'm not so against the film myself, but I think the TV show is the one that is endured for the longest, and the images of the characters, the voices of those characters, they're the ones that you still hear. And I think that if somebody were to look to discover Hitchhiker for the first time, they would gravitate towards that.
I agree. It's certainly the most accessible version, without a doubt. The radio version, as brilliant as it is somewhat sprawling and difficult to get a grip on. You really got to be paying attention to the radio version, because it's all over the shop, certainly across the different series. Whereas
that's why I like it, because of that.
Yeah, and I love it. But the TV series, is certainly the most accessible, because it is 6 discrete episodes with a beginning, a middle, and end. They all fit together. They all work. It all makes some sort of sense in a mad Douglas Adams kind of way. So yeah, if you were going to direct anybody to if you've never watched the TV series of Hitchhikers, go and track it down. And if you've never dipped your foot into the Hitchhikers pool, really give yourselves a treat. Go and do it, and absolutely start with the TV show.
And how typical that it's creative differences that stopped us from getting more.
It's one of those things, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, rest in peace, Stephen Moore. Thanks for
absolutely
every performance.
Respect Stephen Moore.
Seeing as I've only just watched Hitchhikers, I'll likely be watching Adrian Mole again in tribute. I watch that all the time. But yeah, it's a sad loss. Is there anything else that's been going on in Doctor Who this week, Simon, that's caught your imagination, or just got your dander up?
Well, what's got my dander up really this week is something that appeared on social media recently. From an actor from Demons of the Punjab. I don't know whether you've come across this quote.
I have indeed. In fact, I've got it to hand if you'd like to take a look.
Yeah, from a guy called hhgttg, who is an actor from Demons of the Punjab, and I'm not particularly annoyed with him. He just happens to have. Here we go. There we are. There's the quote. Yeah, that's the quote that you've highlighted in blue. That. No, it's not that one actually. Where's his first quote? Have you got that one handy as well?
Here we are. The Doctor Who actor defends show against politically correct backlash.
Yeah. Where is his quote?
He says he said to Digital Spy, there's always going to be people with opinions saying we don't see it this way and we don't believe that. But I feel really confident about it and really excited to be part of it and to make a little history. I remember.
Here we go. That's that next one. This is the one that really got
gold,
my dander,
isn't it? And we're not picking on you, Hazma.
No, not in the slightest.
What has been said and put out there publicly, I think we've got a right to comment. I remember the creative team were very much excited by when they knew there would be people who would be not as excited. They would want it to be just the way Doctor Who was before.
Yeah, and as I say,
the crew, wanted to change things up, and they wanted to open it up to a whole new audience as well. So there may have been some audience lost. It's the understatement of the year, around 50%. But there has been much gained as well for the better. highly subjective quote from there.
Well, yeah, and so as I say, it's that first statement. I remember the creative team were very much excited by the fact that they knew that there would be people who would not be as excited. Whoa, I just feel like that's a.
Can you think of anybody working out there? You work in television. I work in
Yeah,
the creative field. I
yeah,
can't think of anybody who, when they're anyway into a project, either to the what would you call it, the revamping, the relaunching of an established product, or launching anything to a new market or trying to gain a new audience, who would operate on that level and almost writing off a portion of the audience as collateral damage.
yeah. And not only deliberately doing it, but according to this guy, actually welcoming doing it, being pleased that they're doing it. I mean, I'm sorry, but I really take great offence at that. So here we are. If this is true,
I'm positive
it's
true, and and you know, this guy, he's come out and said this publicly. Obviously, he's got nothing to be ashamed of. Maybe
no,
they won't like him speaking this way, and he obviously doesn't see anything wrong in what he's saying at all. But then again, he wouldn't, because he's not one of the some audience lost, is he?
No, and he's part of this revamp that. Presumably the creative team, and it's an interesting use of a term, that creative team as opposed to production team. I'm not sure as I would necessarily rate them as desperately creative, but there we go. That again is a very subjective thing. But the fact that this guy is part of this relaunch and this idea of making Doctor Who politically aware, and the team are very happy with that, and they're very proud of themselves by the sounds of it, from the fact that they've lost some of their audience. And I just think that's so arrogant. It's deeply offensive. I'm just offended by a production team that actually wants to annoy me. And wants to lose me as an audience member.
Yeah,
really, why am I coming back and watching Series 12 next year? I seriously question whether I will even bother with that kind of attitude.
We don't want that audience anymore. We want that one. You are not good enough.
And good luck to them. And okay, so fine. They lose some of their audience by collateral damage. They reckon they're going to pick up some along the way, but by all accounts, looking at the viewing figures last year, they didn't pick up many. They lost it once the tally was all done.
Let's get to the perspective. The biggest drop off.
Yeah, they lost more than they gained
in the shortest period.
Yeah, so if they're proud of that, well, I'm very, very pleased for them. But what are they going to do when that audience begins to desert them? What are they going to do? Because they've killed off the existing audience, the existing fan base of Doctor Who that used to watch it. And by the sounds of it, from what this guy says, Hamza, that they've deliberately done it, or they've welcomed doing it. Anyway, they've not shied away from doing it. So I don't know what is their audience. I begin to question, as a creative team, to use Hamza's word, I question what they're actually classing as their audience. That suggests to me they don't actually know what their audience is, because they don't want their existing audience. They want some new audience who presumably are far better than the original audience, because the new audience is going to be far more politically aware than you and I are, Dan. So they don't want us, because we're clearly not. We're clearly politically very unaware. So
yeah, well, obviously Hamza Jito, he'll be watching, so they've got him. But yeah, I mean, the idea, change things up and open up. That's such a subjective statement, isn't it? You know, as regards to what's necessary and what isn't, what constitutes moving with the times and what doesn't, and how you justify that. It's it's, as I say, hyper subjective, and I think that the idea that it's one thing for one or two people to feel that way, but you compare that to it being a definite remit.
Yes, I think that's the scariest thing about it. That this, from if we're to read this at face value, the idea seems to be that this was a deliberate intention, almost, to shed some of their audience, or if they did shed their audience, they just didn't care. In fact, to use his words, they welcomed it. Gosh, that's really, I don't know. Again, I look at, I've said this before, if Doctor Who was to be made by Netflix, it would be a very different beast. And I can't honestly imagine any creative team at Netflix welcoming losing their existing fan base. It's just a really odd thing to say. I can't get my head around it.
Well, in a week where the BBC also announced that the iPlayer is to be revolutionised again, to be rethought again, to be revamped again, and to get larger again, we're heading towards the point now where they become more like a subscription service than ever. So, whereas, as you say, Netflix would never do that, and they would certainly never publicly state that because they can't afford to. We're heading to a situation soon where the license fee must be reformed, and we'll see if the BBC still make statements like that, or have that kind of mindset, as we just heard, that was clearly the culture at the BBC during the making of Series 11. We'll see if that translates in times to come. It's going to be over the next 5 years. Could be quite choppy waters, and we'll keep watching and see how things are going to go with both the new audience and the older audience when Doctor Who returns early next year for Series 12. Simon, it's going to be very interesting, isn't it?
It's going to be a roller coaster, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think that about covers it. But yeah, we'll keep watching the news and these articles, and we'll keep talking about them. And yeah, rest in peace, Stephen Moore. So it's, as we lose people, obviously, it's we've got to acknowledge that and respectfully. And yeah, I think that's about it. Simon, thanks for popping by.
Thank you very much, Dan. Take care out there.
And yeah, we'll be back with more videos, I'm sure, at some point later this week. Thank you. Bye-bye.